I'm grateful you joined tonight. Your brain is processing silence right now, filtering thousands of sounds every second to create the peaceful quiet you barely notice. Tonight, you'll discover what happens when sound disappears completely and understand why silence might be the most powerful medicine your mind never knew it needed. Welcome to Get Sleepy Science. Now settle in. You're in your safe space while your mind quietly sorts through the day's noise, deciding what matters and what can fade away. Allow yourself this moment of peace. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about silence, from the invisible sound waves your ears ignore right now, to brain regions that only activate in total quiet, to the space between thoughts where healing begins. This thoughtful journey through silence builds bridges between searching minds. A gentle like, subscribe, or sharing your thoughts creates a pathway for more quiet seekers to discover and brings us closer to protect this sanctuary. One sleepy soul at a time, your peaceful journey inspires ours. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench. Your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep, safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where thoughts rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. True silence doesn't actually exist on Earth, even in the quietest places humans can create. There's always some sound, perhaps the whisper of air molecules moving, the distant hum of electrical equipment, or the soft rhythm of your own heartbeat. The quietest place ever measured is an anechoic chamber at Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond, Washington, where sound levels reach negative 20.6 decibels. That's more than 20 decibels quieter than the threshold of human hearing. In this space, you can hear your own blood flowing through your veins, your lungs expanding and contracting, even the subtle grinding of your joints as you move. Most people find they can stay in this room for about 45 minutes before the profound absence of reflected sound begins to feel unusual. Our brains, it seems, are designed to expect some acoustic input, always listening for something in the quiet. When you think you're experiencing silence, your brain processes it as something distinct and meaningful. Neuroscientists at Johns Hopkins University discovered in 2023 that silence isn't just the absence of sound to our brains. It's something we actively perceive. Their research revealed that our auditory system processes moments of silence, much like it processes sounds, treating quiet as a distinct auditory event rather than simply nothing at all. This makes evolutionary sense. Our ancestors needed to detect when dangerous sounds stopped. When a predator paused before attacking, that rustle of leaves ceasing, that sudden hush in the forest, could mean the difference between life and death. So your mind treats silence as meaningful information, keeping watch even when there's apparently nothing to hear. Silence has a measurable healing effect on your nervous system. Research has shown that just 2 minutes of silence can lower blood pressure and heart rate more effectively than listening to calming music. Studies measured physiological stress markers in participants exposed to different acoustic environments. Those who experienced brief periods of silence showed significant drops in blood pressure, heart rate, and cortisol levels. more pronounced than subjects listening to nature sounds or ambient music. The researchers believe silence allows the parasympathetic nervous system to activate fully, triggering what's called the relaxation response. Your heart rate slows, blood vessels dilate, breathing becomes deeper and more regular. It's as if your body recognizes silence as a signal that it's safe to stop being vigilant, safe to begin healing and restoring itself. Your brain can generate its own internal silence through a process called auditory gating. This mechanism, discovered by neuroscientists at the University of California in 2023, filters out repetitive or unimportant sounds so your conscious mind doesn't have to process them. Right now, you're probably not hearing the hum of electricity, the distant traffic, or even your own breathing, until you read these words and suddenly become aware of them. This selective attention happens in a structure called the thalamic reticular nucleus, which acts like a gatekeeper between your ears and your conscious awareness. It decides what sounds deserve your attention and which can be safely ignored. This internal silence is essential for focus and mental clarity. Without it, you'd be overwhelmed by the constant barrage of acoustic information hitting your ears every single second. Silence actually changes the physical structure of your brain. A landmark study from Duke University revealed that 2 hours of silence per day can prompt development of new cells in the hippocampus, the region associated with memory and learning. The research, conducted with mice, demonstrated that silence led to growth of precursor cells that later differentiated into functional neurons. These new neurons, formed during silent periods, were specifically those involved in processing emotional experiences and forming long-term memories. Scientists theorize that silence might allow the brain to redirect energy usually spent on auditory processing toward growth and repair. Your mind, it seems, builds itself most effectively when sound falls away completely. The absence of sound travels faster than sound itself. This strange paradox relates to how your brain processes interruptions in noise. When a constant sound suddenly stops, your auditory cortex registers this cessation almost instantaneously, about 40 milliseconds faster than it would detect a new sound beginning. Researchers at MIT's Auditory Neuroscience Lab discovered this in 2023 using sophisticated brain imaging. They found that silence isn't processed as nothing, but rather as a distinct acoustic event that your neurons respond to with surprising urgency. This evolutionary adaptation probably helped our ancestors detect when a predator stopped moving, when danger paused before attacking. Your brain treats the arrival of silence as information just as important as the arrival of sound, perhaps even more so. Underwater, silence takes on entirely different qualities. Sound travels about 4 times faster through water than through air, which means ocean silence feels different from terrestrial silence. Marine biologists studying the deep ocean have found that even the quietest parts of the sea, thousands of feet below the surface, far from shipping lanes, still carry the low-frequency moans of distant whale songs, the creak of shifting ice, the rumble of underwater volcanoes. These sounds travel hundreds or even thousands of miles through the water. Yet to creatures adapted to this environment, this might represent their version of silence, a baseline acoustic background against which meaningful sounds stand out. Silence, it seems, is relative to the listener and their environment, always contextual, never absolute. Your ears never stop working. Even in complete silence, the hair cells in your inner ear continue to move, generating tiny electrical signals that travel to your brain. In extremely quiet environments, you might hear a high-pitched ringing or buzzing sound called tinnitus, which affects about 15% of adults. This isn't actually a sound in your environment. It's your auditory system creating phantom signals in the absence of real acoustic input. Scientists at the University of Texas discovered in 2024 that tinnitus becomes more noticeable in silence because there's no external sound to mask it. Your brain, receiving minimal input from the outside world, might amplify its own internal noise until it becomes consciously perceptible. Even silence, then, has its own soundtrack. Silence can synchronize heartbeats between people. A fascinating study from the Max Planck Institute in 2024 observed that when groups of people sat together in complete silence for 20 minutes, their cardiac rhythms began to align. Using sensitive monitors, researchers detected that within about 12 minutes of shared silence, participants' heartbeats started beating in similar patterns, not exactly in sync, but following coordinated rhythms. This phenomenon, called physiological synchrony, only occurred in silence. Not when the group listened to music or ambient sounds together. The scientists theorize that in the absence of external stimuli, our bodies may become more attuned to subtle cues from those around us, creating a form of wordless connection through the quiet. So yes, silence is already revealing itself to be much more than simple absence. These first discoveries show us that quiet moments are not empty, but full of hidden activity. Neural, physiological, even social. Your brain working harder to listen. Your body beginning to heal. Your consciousness preparing to connect with others through shared stillness. Silence isn't nothing. It's a powerful presence that shapes your mind and body in ways science is only beginning to understand. As we continue through these facts, you'll discover that silence might be one of the most overlooked medicines in modern life, hiding in plain absence, waiting to be recognized and embraced. Different cultures define silence in different ways. In Japan, the concept of ma refers to the meaningful pause or space between sounds, words, or actions. This isn't simply the absence of noise, but a positive presence, a canvas upon which meaning is painted. Japanese traditional music often uses silence as deliberately as notes, with long pauses considered essential to the composition. Similarly, in Quaker worship, silence is the foundation of spiritual practice, valued as the space where divine guidance can be heard. Western cultures, by contrast, often treat silence as something to be filled, an awkwardness to overcome. Yet neuroscientists are discovering that these Eastern approaches to silence may better align with how our brains actually need to function for optimal health. Silence helps your brain organize memories while you sleep. During the deepest stages of non-REM sleep, when the outside world falls completely away, your hippocampus replays the day's experiences in rapid sequence. Neuroscientists at Harvard Medical School found in 2024 that this memory consolidation process works most efficiently in complete acoustic isolation. Any sound, even white noise or gentle music, disrupts the precise neural patterns required for transferring information from short-term to long-term storage. Your sleeping brain needs silence to sort through everything you experienced, deciding what to keep and what to discard. Those moments of complete quiet during deep sleep are when you actually learn, when temporary experiences become permanent knowledge, woven into who you are. The human body produces its own internal sounds constantly. Your blood rushing through arteries creates a subtle whooshing. Your joints creak with microscopic movements. Your digestive system gurgles as it processes food. Even your eyeballs make tiny sounds as they rotate in their sockets, though you rarely notice this. In profound external silence, these internal sounds become audible, creating what's sometimes called somatic tinnitus. Research from Johns Hopkins in 2023 suggests that awareness of these body sounds can actually promote mindfulness and body awareness. When external noise fades, you're left with the gentle symphony of your own living organism, a reminder that even in silence, life persists. Breath follows breath. Heart beats on. Silence triggers the release of specific neurochemicals. A study from the University of Pennsylvania in 2024 found that 20 minutes of silence increases GABA levels in the brain, the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter that promotes calmness and reduces anxiety. Silent periods also boost serotonin and dopamine production, chemicals associated with mood, regulation, and pleasure. Interestingly, these effects were more pronounced than those achieved through meditation or relaxation exercises that included gentle background sounds. The researchers believe true silence allows the brain to shift into a distinct neurochemical state, different from either active focus or sound-accompanied relaxation. Your mind, in perfect quiet, can rebalance its own chemistry without external intervention. Ancient philosophers understood silence in ways modern science is only now confirming. The Pythagoreans in ancient Greece practiced 5 years of silence as part of their initiation, believing it developed inner wisdom and self-control. Buddhist monks spend months in silent retreat, reporting profound shifts in consciousness and perception. Medieval Christian mystics valued silence as the foundation of spiritual experience. While these traditions attributed silence's power to spiritual dimensions, neuroscience now reveals the biological mechanisms: reduced stress hormones, increased neural plasticity, enhanced prefrontal cortex activity. The wisdom of silence, passed down through millennia, turns out to rest on solid neurological ground. Our ancestors intuited what laboratories are now proving. Silence affects your perception of time. Experiments at McGill University in 2024 demonstrated that people sitting in quiet rooms consistently underestimated how much time had passed, while those in noisy environments overestimated duration. The difference could be as much as 30 to 40%. Researchers believe silence slows our internal clock because we have fewer external events to mark time's passage. Without the regular punctuation of sounds, moments blend together, stretch out, become less distinct. This time, dilation in silence might explain why meditation makes minutes feel longer, why quiet contemplation seems to exist outside normal temporal flow. Silence, perhaps, offers escape from time itself. Your immune system functions better in silence. A comprehensive study from the German Center for Neurodegenerative Diseases in 2024 found that chronic noise exposure, even at moderate levels, suppresses immune response, and increases inflammation markers. Conversely, participants who spent 2 hours daily in quiet environments showed enhanced T-cell activity and lower levels of inflammatory cytokines. The mechanism involves the stress hormone cortisol, which noise elevates and silence reduces. When cortisol levels drop, your immune system operates more efficiently, better defending against infections and even cancer cells. Silence, in this sense, strengthens your body's natural defenses simply by removing the constant stress of acoustic stimulation. Silence enhances creativity in surprising ways. Researchers at Stanford University discovered in 2023 that people who spent 30 minutes in complete silence before creative tasks showed markedly improved divergent thinking, the ability to generate multiple novel solutions to problems. This silent period was more effective than brainstorming, listening to music, or any other preparation technique tested. The scientists theorize that silence allows the default mode network, brain regions active during rest, to make unexpected connections between disparate ideas. In quiet, your mind wanders productively, linking concepts that might never connect amid noise's constant demands for attention. Space offers the only true silence. Beyond Earth's atmosphere, in the vacuum between celestial bodies, sound cannot travel because there are no molecules to carry acoustic waves. Astronauts report this total absence as initially disturbing but eventually profoundly peaceful. The International Space Station, however, is quite noisy, filled with ventilation systems, equipment hum, and structural creaks. But during spacewalks, when astronauts float in the void, they experience something no human encountered until the 1960s. Absolute, perfect silence. Some describe it as sacred, others as eerie. All agree it fundamentally changes how they perceive existence. Silence helps wounds heal faster. A surprising study from Charité University Hospital in Berlin found that recovery from surgery improved when patients spent portions of each day in designated quiet rooms. Compared to standard hospital environments with typical noise levels, the silent group showed reduced inflammation, better pain tolerance, and faster tissue regeneration. The mechanism isn't fully understood, but appears linked to reduced cortisol and enhanced growth hormone release during quiet periods. Your body, it seems, dedicates more resources to healing when it doesn't have to process constant auditory input. Children raised in quieter environments develop better auditory discrimination, the ability to distinguish between similar sounds. Research from the University of California in 2024 found that kids growing up in homes with regular silent periods could better detect subtle differences in phonemes, tones, and rhythmic patterns. This advantage persisted into adulthood, affecting language learning ability and even musical aptitude. The researchers suggest that constant background noise prevents fine-tuning of auditory neural pathways during critical developmental windows. Silence, for growing brains, may be essential for building precise perceptual capabilities. Silence affects how you taste food. An experiment at Oxford University showed that people eating in complete silence rated food flavors as more intense and complex than when dining with background music or conversation. The researchers believe that acoustic silence allows more neural resources to process gustatory and olfactory information, without auditory input competing for attention. your brain can devote more processing power to other senses. This might explain why some high-end restaurants are experimenting with silent dining experiences, where guests eat without talking. Discovering new dimensions in familiar dishes, your breathing naturally slows in silence. Measurements from respiratory researchers in Copenhagen revealed that people in quiet rooms automatically shift to deeper, slower breathing patterns, about 12 to 14 breaths per minute instead of the typical 16 to 20. This happens unconsciously, without deliberate effort. The body seems to recognize silence as a safe state that doesn't require vigilance, allowing the respiratory system to optimize for efficiency rather than readiness. This slower breathing, in turn, further reduces heart rate and blood pressure, creating a positive feedback loop toward calm. Silence preserves cognitive resources for complex thinking. A study from MIT's Brain and Cognitive Sciences department found that participants solving difficult mathematical problems performed better after periods of silence than after rest periods with background music or nature sounds. The improvement was significant. About 20% higher accuracy on abstract reasoning tasks. Researchers concluded that even pleasant sounds consume cognitive bandwidth, leaving less available for demanding mental work. Pure silence, by contrast, allows full cognitive capacity to focus on the task at hand. And so, as we reach this first checkpoint in our journey, you've discovered that silence is far from empty. It's a powerful force that heals your body, sharpens your mind, even changes how you perceive time and taste. From the impossibility of true quiet on Earth to the perfect silence of space, from synchronized heartbeats to enhanced creativity, silence reveals itself as essential medicine, hiding in plain absence. Now let's pause together and feel this truth settling into your awareness. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence. Heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing, quietly maintaining itself while you simply rest here. Feel the weight of your body pressing down, held safely by what supports you. Everything within you knows exactly what to do without being told, working in perfect coordinated silence. Now we continue. Silence is becoming increasingly rare. Environmental researchers estimate that truly quiet spaces, areas where natural sounds dominate without human-made noise, have declined by 50% since 1980. In the United States, only about 1% of land area experiences natural soundscapes uninterrupted by aircraft, traffic, or industrial noise for more than 15 minutes at a time. This scarcity makes silence more valuable than ever, yet also harder to access. Urban dwellers might go days or weeks without experiencing genuine quiet. This constant noise exposure, according to the World Health Organization, now ranks as one of the most underestimated environmental health hazards. Silence enhances empathy and social connection. Psychology researchers at Harvard found that people who spent 20 minutes in silence before social interactions showed improved ability to read facial expressions and interpret emotional states. The silent period seemed to quiet internal mental chatter, allowing participants to focus more fully on external social cues. They demonstrated better active listening skills and more accurate assessments of others' feelings. The study suggests that we might connect more authentically with people when we approach from silence rather than from the noise and distraction that typically fills our days. Your eyes move differently in silence. Neuroscientists using eye-tracking technology discovered that people in quiet environments show more stable, focused gaze patterns than those surrounded by sound. Even gentle background noise causes tiny, rapid eye movements called microsaccades, which fragment visual attention. In silence, eyes settle into steadier fixations, allowing deeper visual processing. This finding has implications for activities requiring sustained visual attention: reading, art appreciation, detailed observation. Silence doesn't just quiet your ears. It calms your entire sensory system, creating conditions for more concentrated, thorough perception. Silence can temporarily improve hearing sensitivity. After 20 minutes in a quiet environment, the threshold for detecting faint sounds drops significantly. You can hear softer sounds than before the silent period. This phenomenon, called temporary threshold shift, happens because the auditory system becomes more sensitive when not constantly stimulated. Think of it as your ears recovering from the fatigue of processing continuous sound. Musicians and audio engineers sometimes use silent periods before recording sessions to heighten their auditory acuity, allowing them to catch subtle details they might otherwise miss. Silence affects your posture unconsciously. Physical therapists have observed that people in noisy environments tend to tense shoulder and neck muscles, even when they're not aware of the sound. In quiet spaces, these same muscles naturally relax, allowing better spinal alignment. A study from the University of Southern California found that chronic noise exposure contributes to postural problems through continuous low-level muscle tension. Silence, conversely, allows the body to find its natural alignment. Your posture improves simply by removing the acoustic stress you didn't know you were carrying. Silence helps regulate blood sugar. Research from endocrinologists in Stockholm revealed an unexpected connection between quiet environments and metabolic function. Participants who spent 2 hours daily in silence showed improved insulin sensitivity and more stable blood glucose levels over a 6-week period. The mechanism likely involves cortisol reduction. Chronic noise elevates stress hormones, which disrupt glucose metabolism. By lowering cortisol through silence, the body regulates blood sugar more effectively. This suggests silence might play a role in managing or even preventing type 2 diabetes. Silence can make you more honest. A fascinating psychology study found that people asked to write about past moral failures in silent rooms disclosed more truthfully than those in noisy environments. The researchers theorized that silence removes distractions that help us avoid uncomfortable self-reflection. Without external noise to focus on, we're left facing our own thoughts more directly. This might explain why many spiritual traditions use silence as part of confession or examination of conscience. Quiet strips away the buffers that let us hide from ourselves. Your brain waves synchronize differently in silence. EEG studies show that alpha waves, associated with relaxed wakefulness, become stronger and more coherent when external sound ceases. These synchronized alpha rhythms across different brain regions create a state that's simultaneously relaxed and alert, ideal for both rest and creative insight. Neuroscientists call this the alpha bridge. a neural configuration that appears most readily in silence. It's a distinctive brain state, different from sleep, different from active focus, accessible mainly through quiet. Silence improves mathematical ability temporarily. Students who spent 15 minutes in complete silence before mathematics exams scored higher on average than those who studied right up until test time or listened to music. The improvement was most pronounced on complex problem-solving questions requiring multiple steps. Researchers believe silence allows mental consolidation, the brain organizing and integrating recently learned information, like letting sediment settle in cloudy water. Silence clarifies mental contents, making knowledge more accessible when you need it. Silence lengthens your attention span. In an era of constant notification sounds, pings, and alerts, sustained attention is becoming rarer. Studies show that people who deliberately practice silence for 20 minutes daily develop measurably longer attention spans over just 4 weeks. Their ability to focus on single tasks without distraction improved by approximately 35%. The practice seems to train the brain to resist the pull of novelty, strengthening neural circuits involved in sustained concentration. Silence builds attention, like exercise builds muscle. Silence affects your dreams. People who spend the hour before sleep in quiet environments report more vivid, memorable dreams with clearer narratives. Sleep researchers theorize that auditory stimulation before bed, even television or music, interferes with the transition into REM sleep, where most vivid dreaming occurs. Silence allows smoother descent through sleep stages, setting better conditions for the rich dream experiences that emerge in the night's later cycles. Your dreaming mind, it seems, benefits from quiet approaches. Silence can reduce chronic pain perception. Patients with conditions like fibromyalgia and chronic back pain reported lower pain intensity after participating in silent meditation retreats. Brain scans showed that silence reduced activity in pain processing regions, while increasing activity in areas associated with pain modulation. The effect lasted for weeks after the retreat ended. Researchers believe silence might help retrain the nervous system's response to pain signals, offering relief where medications sometimes fail. Your microbiome, the bacteria in your gut, responds to silence indirectly through stress reduction. When cortisol levels drop during quiet periods, the gut environment becomes less acidic and more hospitable to beneficial bacteria. A study from the Netherlands found that people who practiced daily silence showed healthier gut bacterial diversity, since gut health affects mood, immunity, and even cognition. Silence's benefits ripple through multiple body systems simultaneously, creating cascading improvements in overall health. Silence makes music more meaningful. Musicians and composers have long known that rests, silent pauses between notes, give music its emotional power. Neuroscience now shows that listeners' brains respond most strongly to the moments just after sound stops. These silent intervals create anticipation, allow previous notes to resonate in memory, and shape the overall structure that makes melody meaningful. Without silence, music becomes meaningless noise. Quiet spaces define sound's significance. And here, at this midpoint in our exploration, silence is revealing its therapeutic depth, from improving blood sugar to enhancing empathy, from quieting physical pain to enriching dreams. Silence acts as universal medicine. It strengthens attention, clarifies thought, and even changes how honestly you face yourself. These benefits aren't metaphorical or mystical. They're measurable, repeatable, scientifically verified. Silence heals through specific biological mechanisms, working quietly but powerfully throughout your entire being. You're still here with me. Thoughts still flickering like candlelight. Just notice. Don't judge. Just notice where your mind is. We're exploring silence itself. The very thing that lets you hear these words clearly. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. A gentle like or subscribe helps another restless mind discover this same stillness, one sleepy soul at a time. Let's drift onward together. Silence is an evolutionary adaptation we've mostly lost. Our ancestors experienced regular periods of profound quiet, nights without artificial sound, days in natural environments where only wind, water, and wildlife created acoustic landscapes. Modern humans, by contrast, live in near constant noise. Our nervous systems evolved expecting regular silence, which is why its absence creates stress we don't consciously recognize. We're biologically adapted for quiet that our modern world no longer provides, creating a mismatch between our needs and our environment. Silence strengthens romantic relationships in unexpected ways. Couples who spend time together in silence, walking without talking, sitting quietly side by side, report feeling more connected than those who only interact through conversation. Researchers believe shared silence creates a different kind of intimacy, one based on comfortable presence rather than verbal exchange. It demonstrates trust, acceptance, and a security that doesn't require constant reassurance through words. Some therapists now prescribe silent states to help troubled couples rediscover connection. Silence helps you make better decisions. When facing important choices, people who spend 30 minutes in quiet contemplation make decisions they're less likely to regret later. The silent period allows weighing options without the distraction of external input or internal noise. Behavioral economists found that silence reduces impulsive choices and increases consideration of long-term consequences. Your judgment improves when given space to settle, like snow settling on a still winter night, revealing the landscape beneath. Your vocal cords benefit from regular silence. Voice professionals, singers, teachers, public speakers know that periods of complete vocal rest improve voice quality and prevent strain injuries. But research shows everyone benefits from daily silent periods. Even casual conversation creates subtle vocal fatigue. Silence allows tissues in your larynx to recover, reducing inflammation and preventing the hoarseness that chronic talkers develop. Your voice, like your mind, needs rest from its own constant use. Silence amplifies gratitude. Studies show that people who practice silent reflection feel more grateful for what they have compared to those who journal or talk about gratitude. The silence seems to deepen appreciation, allowing feelings to develop fully without the distraction of finding words. Gratitude practitioners in silence report more intense, positive emotions and longer-lasting effects. Sometimes feelings grow strongest when given wordless space to simply exist within you. Silence can reveal tinnitus or early hearing loss that you haven't noticed yet. In the absence of external sound, you might become aware of ringing, buzzing, or other phantom noises indicating auditory system damage. While this might feel surprising at first, this awareness is valuable. It prompts people to protect their hearing before damage progresses. Silence, in this way, serves diagnostic function, revealing conditions that constant noise masks, giving you opportunity to seek treatment early. Silence improves balance and spatial awareness. Studies of athletes show that training in quiet environments enhances proprioception, your sense of body position in space. Without auditory input, your nervous system relies more heavily on vestibular and proprioceptive systems, strengthening these often underused sensory pathways. Dancers, gymnasts, and martial artists sometimes practice in silence specifically to develop finer bodily control, discovering movement possibilities that noise-filled practice sessions never reveal. Silence may slow cognitive decline in aging. Longitudinal studies tracking older adults found that those living in quieter neighborhoods or practicing regular silence showed less age-related cognitive deterioration over 10 years. The difference was statistically significant even after controlling for education, income, and other factors. Researchers hypothesize that silence reduces chronic stress on aging brains, preserving neural resources and maintaining cognitive reserve longer into later life. Silence changes your relationship with thoughts themselves. In extended quiet, you begin noticing the space between thoughts, the gaps where mind rests between one idea and the next. These silent intervals, usually imperceptible amid life's noise, reveal that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness, observing them arise and pass. This realization, reported by contemplatives across cultures, becomes accessible mainly through sustained silence. Halfway through our journey, the answer is emerging. What does silence reveal? It reveals that you need quiet, like you need sleep, water, breath. That modern life's constant noise creates deficits you didn't know you had. That silence isn't luxury or escape, but biological necessity. Your body and mind evolved expecting it, requiring it, suffering subtly but significantly in its absence. Silence reveals your deepest needs. Let each breath guide you to realize time is yours, a separate stream that only you are living, while the world continues its noise. This second, you're breathing, listening, is unique. These moments of silence belong only to you. Notice the space around you, the quiet air touching your skin, even if sounds exist beyond this room. Right here, right now, you're creating your own island of stillness. Cherish this present moment, knowing that in this universe of constant change, your silence is yours alone. Time slows, space softens, and we continue drifting. Silence is becoming a luxury commodity. Hotels now offer silent floors at premium rates. Wellness retreats charge thousands for experiences of sustained quiet. Urban developers market properties in quiet zones at significant price increases. What was once humanity's default condition, the natural backdrop of existence, has become something wealthy people pay to access. This commodification of silence raises troubling questions about environmental justice. Does everyone deserve access to quiet, or only those who can afford to purchase it? Silence enhances spiritual experiences across all religions. whether Christian contemplative prayer, Buddhist meditation, Islamic dhikr, Jewish hitbodedut, or Hindu yoga. Every major spiritual tradition incorporates silence as essential practice. Neuroscience shows these traditions discovered something profound about consciousness. That silence creates brain states conducive to transcendent experiences. The specific theology differs, but the method converges on quiet. Our ancestors intuited what laboratories now confirm: silence opens doorways in consciousness that noise keeps firmly closed. Silence helps you distinguish between wants and needs. In the constant stimulation of modern life, these often blur together. Silent contemplation clarifies what truly matters versus what merely demands attention. Studies of people who practice regular silence show improved ability to delay gratification and resist impulse purchases. The quiet creates distance from desire's urgency, allowing wiser choices about how to spend time, money, energy. Silence offers perspective that noise obscures. Your heartbeat sounds different to you than to others. In silence, if you press your ear to a pillow or listen carefully in a quiet room, you'll hear your heart as a deep, resonant thump. This is bone conduction, sound traveling through your skeleton directly to your inner ear. Others, hearing your heartbeat through a stethoscope, perceive different tones and rhythms. Silence reveals these hidden internal sounds, making you aware of constant companions. Silence reduces age-related hearing loss. People who protect themselves from excessive noise and incorporate regular silence maintain better hearing longer than those in constant sound exposure. The cochlear hair cells, delicate structures that detect sound, suffer cumulative damage from overstimulation. Each period of silence allows these cells to recover slightly. Over decades, this recovery time adds up, preserving hearing ability well into old age. Silence protects the very sense that allows you to hear. Silence can make familiar spaces feel strange. When the ambient sound you're accustomed to suddenly stops, air conditioning cutting off, traffic noise ending, your environment feels different, almost uncanny. This effect, called negative presence, occurs because your brain uses sound to build spatial maps. When acoustic cues vanish, the space becomes less defined. Boundaries soften. Silence reveals how much sound shapes your experience of where you are. Silence strengthens your sense of self. Psychologists find that people who practice regular silence have clearer self-concept and stronger sense of identity compared to those who avoid quiet. The constant input of modern life, social media, news, entertainment, pulls attention outward continuously. Silence turns attention inward, allowing self-reflection that builds stable identity. You discover who you are when the world stops telling you what to be. Silence improves speech clarity when you do speak. Voice coaches train actors and public speakers to incorporate silent pauses, which makes their speech more comprehensible and impactful. But research shows that regular practice of sustained silence, hours, not just seconds, permanently improves articulation and vocal tone. The mechanism isn't fully clear, but appears related to reduced vocal tension and improved breath control that develops during quiet periods. Silence reveals the ringing of Earth itself. Using ultra-sensitive seismometers, Scientists detected that our planet constantly vibrates at frequencies below human hearing. These earth tones result from ocean waves. Atmospheric pressure changes and deep geological processes. In perfect silence, if humans could hear low enough frequencies, Earth's hum would be audible. Even our planet, it seems, is never truly silent. It sings constantly beneath our notice. Silence can feel uncomfortable because it invites presence. Without distraction, you face whatever you've been avoiding. Difficult emotions, unresolved feelings, uncomfortable truths. This is why many people fill every moment with sound, keeping silence at bay. Yet therapists increasingly recognize that healing requires sitting with what's uncomfortable. Silence doesn't let you escape. This difficulty is also its power. The courage to face yourself directly. Silence affects your circadian rhythm, exposure to noise, even at levels that don't wake you fully, disrupts sleep architecture and suppresses melatonin production. People sleeping in quieter environments show stronger circadian rhythms, more regular sleep-wake cycles, better morning alertness, more natural sleepiness at appropriate times. Your internal biological clock uses silence as one cue that it's time for rest. Chronic noise confuses this system, creating circadian misalignment that affects everything from mood to metabolism to immune function. Silence makes you a better listener. This seems obvious, but the mechanism is interesting. Regular practice of silence trains your brain to process auditory information more completely. People who practice silence daily show improved ability to understand speech in noisy environments, better memory for verbal information, and more accurate interpretation of vocal emotion. Silence doesn't just give others space to speak. It actually enhances your neurological capacity to receive and understand their words fully. Silence can trigger mystical experiences. Researchers studying extended silence retreats found that about 30% of participants report profound alterations in consciousness, feelings of unity with the universe, dissolution of ego boundaries, experiences of timelessness or infinity. These aren't religious delusions, but consistent phenomenological states that emerge when consciousness is deprived of usual stimulation for extended periods. Silence, apparently, can open awareness to dimensions of experience that normal life keeps veiled. Silence improves emotional regulation in children. Kids who experience regular quiet time show better ability to manage strong emotions and less reactivity to stress. The practice helps developing brains build neural pathways for self-soothing and emotional control. Many progressive schools now incorporate silence practice alongside traditional education, recognizing that children need training in stillness just as much as they need training in reading or mathematics. We now understand that silence is not passive, but active. Not emptiness, but presence. It's not the absence of sound, but a powerful state that actively changes your brain, body, and consciousness. From healing wounds to revealing Earth's vibrations. From clarifying identity to opening mystical dimensions. Silence demonstrates agency and effect. It acts upon you even as you rest within it, working its quiet transformations beneath your awareness. Silence connects you to death in healthy ways. Contemplative traditions recognize silence as preparation for life's final silence. By regularly experiencing profound quiet, you become less afraid of the ultimate stillness. Research with hospice patients shows that those comfortable with silence have less end-of-life anxiety. They've already befriended the quiet that awaits. Discovering it's peaceful rather than unsettling, a return rather than an ending. Silence reveals micro-expressions you normally miss. In conversation, we're often focused on forming our next response rather than fully observing our conversation partner. Silent observation, simply watching someone without speaking, allows you to notice subtle facial expressions that flash for fractions of seconds. These micro-expressions reveal genuine emotions before conscious control masks them. Detectives and therapists sometimes use strategic silence to read truth beneath words. Silence is contagious in groups. When one person in a gathering becomes genuinely quiet, not just stopping speech but entering real stillness, others tend to follow. Within minutes, entire groups can settle into shared silence without anyone suggesting it. This social synchrony happens because our nervous systems unconsciously mirror those around us. One person's deep calm spreads through the group like ripples across water. Silence changes your relationship with pain, but not by eliminating it. Rather, silence creates space around pain, allowing you to observe it without being overwhelmed. Chronic pain sufferers, trained in silent mindfulness, report that pain sensations remain but become more tolerable. The silence doesn't remove suffering but changes your relationship to it, creating compassionate distance where reactivity once lived. Silence is mathematically related to information. In information theory, silence has entropy. It carries information just as sound does. The pattern of when sound occurs and when it doesn't creates meaning. Music, speech, and even animal communication depend on silence to structure information. Too much silence, and there's no message. Too little, and the message becomes noise. The optimal ratio varies, but in all cases, silence is essential for information to exist at all. Silence teaches patience by removing instant gratification. In quiet, things take time to emerge. Thoughts develop slowly. Emotions unfold gradually. Insights arise only after long waiting. This natural pace conflicts with modern expectations of immediate results. Regular silence practice trains tolerance for delay, builds capacity to wait without anxiety. People who practice silence show less impulsivity and better ability to work toward distant goals without constant reinforcement. Silence helps heal trauma by creating safety for processing. Trauma survivors often experience hypervigilance, constant scanning for threats. Silence, paradoxically, can feel threatening because there's nothing to monitor. Yet, with gentle guidance, silence becomes the safest place to begin trauma integration. The quiet provides controlled environment where memories can surface without external triggers, allowing gradual healing at a pace the nervous system can tolerate. Silence enhances prayer effectiveness, regardless of religious belief. Studies of prayer practices show that silent prayer produces more consistent physiological benefits, reduced stress markers, improved well-being, than verbal prayer. Researchers theorize that silence allows deeper focus and removes the cognitive load of finding words. Whether you pray to a deity or simply set intentions, doing so in silence amplifies the practice's psychological and physical benefits. Silence allows grief to move through you completely, Mourning requires time and space to feel fully. Well-meaning friends often try to fill bereaved people's silence with words, activities, distractions. But grief work happens most completely in quiet, where sorrow can be experienced without performance or management. Silence gives permission to feel without explaining, to hurt without justifying, to miss without moving on. Silence has taught us that your nervous system needs it like your body needs sleep. That modern noise creates deficits across physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual dimensions. That the absence of sound isn't empty but full of healing potential. Our exploration reveals that silence isn't withdrawal from life but deeper engagement with its quieter truths. The ones that only whisper, never shout. You might be feeling tired now. That's perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Feel the cycles. Everything in nature moves in rhythms. Day and night. Waking and sleeping. Sound and silence. Your breath is a small cycle within these vast patterns. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Each silence between breaths mirrors the larger silence you're exploring now. You don't need to hold on to anything. Let everything unfold in its perfect order. Like the inevitable return of night after day, these rhythms existed before you, will continue after you, and carry you now in their gentle, ancient flow. We're almost there. Silence is where love becomes visible. When words fail, when grand gestures feel insufficient, silence holds what cannot be spoken. Sitting quietly with someone in pain, sharing wordless presence in joy, existing together without needing to fill space. This is love in its purest form. The depth of connection that silence reveals often exceeds what any amount of conversation could achieve. Some bonds only strengthen when given space to simply be. Silence lets you hear what your life is telling you. The constant noise of modern existence drowns out subtle signals. Your body's whispers about what it needs. Your heart's hints about what truly matters. Your intuition's gentle suggestions about which path to take. In silence, these quiet voices become audible. Many significant life changes begin in moments of stillness. When clarity finally breaks through noise, silence teaches that you're enough without doing anything. Our culture equates worth with productivity, achievement, constant activity. Silence offers radical counter-message. You're valuable simply existing, breathing, being present. This lesson feels revolutionary to people, raised believing they must constantly prove their worth. Silence whispers that you were whole before any accomplishment, will be whole after every failure, are whole in this quiet moment. Silence reveals the poetry in ordinary moments. The way light falls through a window, the weight of your head on the pillow, the slight itch on your left ankle. These mundane details become noticed, almost sacred. When silence removes distraction, life's small beauties exist constantly, but noise keeps them hidden. Silence pulls back the veil, showing that every moment contains quiet miracles if you're still enough to see. Silence connects you to everyone who ever lived, before electricity, before cities, before language itself. Humans knew silence. Sitting quietly, you experience what your ancestors experienced 10,000 years ago. This shared experience across time creates strange kinship. The silence you enter is the same silence that held Neanderthals, that cradled early humans watching stars, that every conscious being has encountered at some point. Silence reminds you that most things resolve without your intervention. Problems you worried about solve themselves. Situations you tried to control unfold fine without your management. People you thought needed your advice find their own way. Silence teaches trust in natural processes, acceptance of what is, the release of the illusion that you must orchestrate everything. Sometimes doing nothing is the wisest action possible. Silence shows you're part of something larger. In quiet, the boundary between inner and outer softens. You feel less separate, more connected to the space around you, to others, to the whole living system of which you're one small part. This dissolution of separateness isn't loss, but expansion. You become more by becoming less defined, more connected by becoming less isolated. Silence is the canvas on which everything else appears. Sound only exists because silence exists. Thoughts only become visible against stillness. Life itself emerges from and returns to vast quiet, beginning and ending. Silence bookends all experience. Between these bookends, we fill space with noise, activity, words. But the silence waits patiently, always there, the ground of everything. Silence teaches acceptance of what cannot be changed. When you sit quietly, with difficult feelings, instead of distracting yourself, you discover that emotions don't destroy you, they rise, peak, and pass like waves. This direct experience of emotions' impermanence builds resilience. You learn that you can survive discomfort without immediately fixing or fleeing it. Silence trains you to be with what is, even when what is feels hard. This is wisdom deeper than any words. Silence shows you the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is painful absence, feeling cut off from connection. Solitude is chosen quiet, peaceful aloneness that actually increases capacity for connection. In silence, you discover that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. You can be complete unto yourself, needing nothing from outside to feel whole. This self-sufficiency paradoxically makes you better friend, partner, family member. You connect from wholeness, not need. Silence reveals that the answer is already inside you. We seek advice, read books, ask experts, looking outside for wisdom that exists within. Silence clears away external voices so your own knowing can emerge. The truth you seek lives in you already, waiting to be discovered rather than acquired. Teachers and teachings can point the way, but the actual realization happens internally. In quiet moments when you stop seeking, silence shows you're not your thoughts. When you observe thoughts arising and passing in quiet awareness, you realize you're the space in which thoughts occur, not the thoughts themselves. This distinction between the changing contents of consciousness and consciousness itself transforms suffering. Difficult thoughts still arise, but you're no longer imprisoned by them. You're the sky, not the weather. Silence makes this truth experientially obvious. Silence reconnects you with wonder. Children naturally experience awe at simple things. Raindrops, insects, shadows. Adults lose this capacity under layers of familiarity and distraction. Silence strips away these layers, revealing the strangeness of existence itself. That you exist, that anything exists, that consciousness perceives anything at all. These become miracles again. Wonder returns not as naivety, but as clear seeing of what was always remarkable. Silence teaches that impermanence applies to suffering too. Pain feels permanent when you're in it. But silence allows you to notice that even intense discomfort fluctuates, shifts, eventually changes. This observation doesn't eliminate pain, but provides hope, knowing that this moment, however difficult, will transform into the next moment, which may be different. Silence reveals time's healing nature by making change perceptible. So what does silence reveal? It reveals that you've been searching outside for what lives within. That peace doesn't require special conditions, but waits in ordinary moments. That healing doesn't always need intervention, but sometimes needs space. That connection deepens in stillness. That wisdom emerges in quiet. That you've carried the answer all along. Silence reveals you to yourself. Silence shows the sacred in the mundane. Religious traditions locate divinity in temples, texts, rituals. But silence demonstrates that sacred means simply paying complete attention. Washing dishes in silence becomes meditation. Walking quietly becomes prayer. Eating slowly without distraction becomes ceremony. Any act performed with full presence reveals inherent dignity. Silence sanctifies ordinary life by removing everything but pure attention. Silence is the opposite of noise, but not the opposite of sound. Gentle, natural sounds. Rain on leaves. Wind through grass. Waves on shore. Enhance silence rather than breaking it. These sounds arise from and return to quiet, never demanding attention, only offering presence. They remind you that silence isn't absolute absence, but peaceful presence. The sounds that nature makes don't disturb the silence. They deepen it, revealing its textured quality. Silence invites you to stop moving for a moment. Constant activity, entertainment, stimulation. These keep attention outward. But in stopping, sitting quietly with all of yourself, something can shift. Integration happens in stillness. Acceptance grows through presence. You discover parts of yourself that were left behind in the rush. Only by pausing, resting in silence with everything you are, can you become whole. Healing requires stopping long enough to feel. Silence reveals that you're already home. We seek fulfillment in achievements, relationships, possessions, thinking peace exists in some future when conditions finally align. But silence shows that home is where you are right now, in this breath, this moment, this awareness. You've never actually left home. You've only become distracted, thinking you need to get somewhere else. Silence brings you back to where you've always been. Silence teaches forgiveness by softening the stories you tell. In quiet, narratives about who wronged you, how life failed you, why things shouldn't be as they are. These stories lose their grip, not because they weren't true, but because they're not all of truth. Silence shows larger context, complexity, everyone's suffering. From this expanded view, forgiveness becomes natural, not forgetting, but releasing the grip of resentment. Silence shows you're witnessing a miracle, the fact of existence, that something rather than nothing exists, that you're here to know it. This is incomprehensibly strange and beautiful. Daily life obscures this miracle through familiarity. Silence strips familiarity away, revealing existence in its raw unlikeliness. You're participating in the universe, becoming aware of itself. Silence makes this obvious, and obvious things are often most profound. Silence reveals that less is often more. Fewer words, deeper meaning. Fewer plans, more presence. Fewer possessions, greater freedom. The modern addiction to more stimulation, more achievement, more everything, creates anxiety and exhaustion. Silence whispers that enough is already here, that fullness doesn't require constant addition. Subtracting noise reveals sufficiency. Removing excess reveals what was always enough. Silence shows death isn't the opposite of life. Birth and death are both part of life, bookending the experience, but not opposing it. In deep silence, the fear of ending softens. You glimpse that consciousness might not be personal possession, but something you temporarily participate in. When this participation ends, what's lost, perhaps less than fear, imagines. Silence makes peace with endings. Silence reveals that this moment is all you ever have. Past exists only as memory, future only as imagination. All experience happens now. Silence makes now obvious by removing distractions that pull attention elsewhere. Not as punishment, limiting you to present moment, but as liberation, fully here. You're free from regret's backward pull and anxiety's forward thrust. Now is peace's only address. And so we arrive at the answer. What does silence reveal? Everything. It reveals the truth beneath noise, the peace beneath anxiety, the wholeness beneath brokenness. Silence reveals that you're not separate but connected, not broken but healing, not inadequate but complete. It shows that what you sought outside was inside, that where you wanted to go is where you already are, that who you tried to become is who you've always been. Silence reveals you. And so, our quiet journey through silence comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the impossibility of true quiet to the perfect stillness of space, discovering along the way that silence is both ancient necessity and modern medicine. From synchronized heartbeats in shared stillness to the revelation of consciousness itself, we've glimpsed how silence is both absence and profound presence. The quiet that seemed empty revealed itself as full of healing, wisdom, connection, and truth. Silence reminds us that not everything valuable makes noise. Much of what matters most, love, awareness, presence, peace, happens silently, in the spaces between words, in the pauses between thoughts. It demonstrates patience, reveals interconnection, teaches acceptance. Without silence, sound loses meaning. By choosing quiet, we discover that we've been whole all along. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can. Think about consciousness itself. Yours, mine, everyone listening. All awareness, everywhere. perhaps all connected in ways we don't yet understand. You are not alone in the universe of minds. Every person who ever sat quietly entered this same silence, rested in this same awareness. You're touching something ancient and shared. Let your entire being dissolve into the ocean of consciousness, into dreamless rest, into the space before thought, where all distinctions fade and only quiet remains. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left, only peace. This thoughtful exploration of silence builds bridges between quiet seekers. A gentle like and subscribe helps another restless mind discover this same peaceful stillness. One sleepy soul at a time. Your peaceful journey inspires ours. It only takes a moment, but it means the world to us. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, deeper than most journeys take you. You can allow these thoughts of silence to fade now, like morning mist dissolving in warming sun, leaving only the peaceful calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if gravity itself gently increases, pressing you deeper into rest. If sleep comes, let it carry you like a river flowing inevitably toward the sea, smoothly, naturally, into a realm where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the quiet that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, silence will still exist. The spaces between sounds will still hold their wisdom. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, quiet traveler, and remember, you carry silence within you always. A refuge available in any moment, as close as your next breath, as near as the space between thoughts. Dream deeper with bedtime science. Fall asleep to gentle facts. Good night.